I'm Marjorie Sensor, editor of Defense News. Thank you for joining us for this morning's session, The Future of Army Aviation. The session is sponsored by Bell. My guest this morning is Ryan Ehinger, Senior Vice President for Bell. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thanks.
Ryan's the Program Director for Bell's V-280 Valor and has been a member of that team since 2013. All right, we'll jump right into some questions to kick us off this morning. Future Vertical Lift is one of the Army's top modernization priorities, and the Future Long-Range Assault Aircraft Program is a key part of that. Can you give us an update on that program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about 6 months into the Weapon Systems Development Contract, really hit the ground running. What's important to remember when we step back a little bit, so we're 6 months in, but really we've been working on this effort for almost 10 years. And industry and Army really had a lot of foresight in how they set up this program, starting with the Joint Multi-Role Tech Demonstrator phase. So as you look at, if you come out to our booth, you can see the V-280 demonstrator flying, proving out a lot of the critical technologies and critical capabilities. We went from Joint Multi-Role Tech Demonstrator into the competitive demonstration and risk reduction phase, and now into the Weapon Systems Development Contract. So we've got a significant amount of momentum. The team is very significant on the Bell and Army side, and we're continuing to grow every day. Really looking forward to future milestones for the program.
What do you see as the key capabilities of that program?
Yeah, key capabilities for the future long-range assault aircraft. I think it's important to kind of step back a little bit and look at Army aviation and what industry is trying to do to support increased soldier lethality. And when you look at how the future long-range assault aircraft does that, we're delivering soldiers at twice the speed and twice the range. And so that's a huge part, and that's a huge element of the value proposition for the long-range assault aircraft. I think the other thing is if you look aside from the air vehicle and the performance of the air vehicle, it's the open systems approach. And so we've done a lot with the Joint Multi-Role Tech Demonstrator, as I mentioned, to prove out these critical technologies in terms of how the aircraft flies. The Army has also done a lot in parallel for the open systems approach and how we architect these open systems so that we can do rapid spiral upgrades in the future. So MOSA and this modular open systems approach and this open digital backbone that we've incorporated on the aircraft and within the weapon system, I think is a huge element to increasing soldier lethality as well. So when you look at FLRAA and what we're trying to do as a weapon systems development program, it's this culmination of excellent capability, transformational capability from an air vehicle perspective. It's this open systems approach, and then it's all these other things that we're, I think, out in front of in terms of IP and data rights, digital enterprise, digital engineering, these digital means of collaborating between industry and the customer. And I think all that's pretty important.
What's the next big milestone to watch for the program?
So the big milestones, we just got through with a system requirements review, an SRR, a very important event in the timeline. The one we're looking forward to is really Milestone B and executing a solid Milestone B and transitioning as a program into that program of record. But from here to there, preliminary design reviews, integrated baseline reviews, establishing that programmatic baseline for the program, all incredibly important for the long-term success of the weapon systems development effort.
And, as we move through this program, supply chain concerns became one of the issues. What do you make of that? And, are there precautions or steps you're taking to ensure that reliability?
Yeah, and I think when you step back, I think supply chain risk management has always been an important part of, or should be an important part of, a program manager's toolbox. And right now, we're in interesting times, but in some regards, really no different than at any time. We can't take the approach of having transactional relationships with our suppliers and teammates and waiting on the loading dock for parts to arrive. We've got to establish transparency and collaboration throughout the supply chain, and that goes from my customer to us to our sub-tier suppliers. We've got to give our suppliers and teammates insight into how their systems, their engineering, their parts fit into the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve for the warfighter. And then we've also got to have transparency several layers down, I think, into the supplier's organization. And I think that's a recipe that has worked out pretty successful for us, and that's something personally I plan to continue as we execute the program. I do see several teammates of ours in the audience here, so you can fact check me if you like, and tell me if I'm speaking out of turn. But that's our approach. We'll manage it as a team. If we can identify issues when they're small, we can fix them when they're small as well. And I think that's the best way to mitigate the future chances of issues.
You kind of talked about some of the pieces of what you see as transformation, the open systems. You mentioned kind of the IP stuff. How do you see this program as influencing perhaps future efforts in Army aviation?
No, I think there's a baseline and there's a new future for how industry and government participate using these digital tools and having these open systems. And I think what's been really smart on the government side is establishing this open systems approach and creating an opportunity and environment for this ecosystem of smaller businesses to provide their software, to provide their hardware, to integrate more readily onto these platforms. So I think it's really good, and I think we're leading that effort along with several other programs within Army Aviation. So I'm really encouraged by it.
And we're getting close to out of time, but I wondered if you have any other thoughts or issues you'd like to raise.
No, I think it's just, kind of stepping back again, speaking to industry. What are we trying to do? We're trying to increase soldier lethality, and the mission that we've got is incredibly important. And that's something that needs to motivate us as we work and execute this program or other programs within Army Aviation. So I'm excited to be doing what we're doing on the Bell side, working on the future long-range assault aircraft. And I'm encouraged by our ability to provide transformational capabilities to the warfighter. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's all the time we have this morning. Please join me in thanking Ryan Ehinger as well as our sponsor, Bell. We'll be right back with Defense News Land Warfare reporter Jen Judson hosting a panel discussion with DoD leaders on the future of Army aviation. Thank you.